Alrighty then. When we last looked at this generator, it was chucked up in the vise here, and it was fighting coming apart. And then my battery died from this camera, and then we went to the poor audio from this camera, and then just kind of signed it off. I'm hoping that I'm not getting too much wind noise from the from my fan, so hopefully that's not too bad. But anyway, so of course, as soon as I turned this camera off here, the block went dink, and then the whole generator came loose. So that was pretty much it. And so this is what we're left with. So generator goes on this way, like this. And I took the gas tip off the end here. It's in fine shape, nothing wrong with it. There was a bit of some carbon buildup on here, but not much. So all I've really done is I've taken steel wool and kind of polished this down some a little bit. You can see you're getting a little bit of a shine back to the steel here. But the interesting thing is that the generator is actually made out of brass. So that was a bit shocking to me. And because I kind of reefed down on it pretty good here. Thankfully, I did not collapse it, but I do see that it has a bit of a bend to it. You may be able to see as I rotate it here, it kind of lopes a bit. So we're going to try to flatten that bend out a little bit. Not 100% sure how I'm going to do that just yet, but I do know that it does need to be a little straighter than it is right now. But so what I've done here is taking a look how this works, and essentially what you have is that this end right here seats in the generator itself, and that is where your actual shutoff is, because this and I'm cleaning this up here with the steel wool, so we'll have a little better seal, I hope. Now I'll get my super cheaters on to take a look to see what we've got here. That looks pretty good. Looks pretty clean. The needle looks like it's in good shape. It's got a little bit of corrosion on it, so what we'll do is that we'll just kind of draw on it away, which will kind of buff off any corrosion that's on it. But these are replaceable. It's a brass holder here. The brass holder unscrews, and then you can replace the needle. And you know, you can use a sewing needle if you find the right size, and if you don't, you can. Some people, I think, have used different gauge guitar strings that will fit in there and perform the same function. So even if you can't find the needle, then you can try that. I'm gonna look to see here if we've got, if this is carbon buildup on here that I need to scrape off, or if it's just a little bit of rusty metal. I think it's just a little bit of rust on here. So we're not going to really waste a whole lot of time with that, because it seems to be really pretty fine. So blowing into here, air passes through here. Blowing through here, air passes through there just fine. I took my one of my gun bore brushes and kind of ran up and down inside here to see if I could feel any kind of real carbon buildup in here, and honestly, it feels pretty smooth. You can tap this, you can see a very small amount of carbon that comes out. So I really don't think I've got any real carbon of any note to worry about. So what this tells me is that this is a matter for reassembly, because also off camera I pumped up the tank a little bit, opened the main fuel valve, and I heard air hiss out of that. So essentially air hisses out of all the places it's supposed to hiss out of, which is great. And now what we need to do is need to get this more straight, because there is, if I got like this here, this will probably illustrate how much of a bow we've got in this generator right here, and I want to try to get that flattened out. Because it is brass, I don't know how well I can do by just pressing down on it here. I don't want to hit it with a hammer, because then I'm gonna end up, yes, it's just kind of laughing at my attempts to do that. Yeah, let's see. I just wish, I mean, I can try squeezing it in the vise. So what we can do is that we can mark where the highest, where it is the highest. So I'll kind of find that here real quick. So that seems to be the highest point. So we'll say that's where I need to apply force. And then if I do 90 degrees to that, I'll have a mark I can see in the vise. So that should be, like that should get me pretty good. And since it actually lays flat on there with that dead up, that tells me that I made the right guess. So let's just see what happens if we try to flatten it with the vise some. See if that doesn't straighten it out a little bit. See, how's that looking? Not much different, because you can only press it to flat, and what it really needs is it needs some offset to that flatness there, to like on either side of this. And I think I got an idea. So I've got some masonite here that I can kind of break off a little bit of, and we can use that as a way to give ourselves a little bit of offset. Let me just back this out some. So we'll put that here, put this here, and then we'll kind of try to do that some. One more time. Yeah, I can see it wanting to flatten. Almost what I need to do is put maybe a third piece right here in the middle to give a little extra squeeze, if we can do all this without it falling apart. So let's see. We do this. I don't know if you can kind of see with this camera here, but we're just trying to get it to apply a little bit of extra pressure here to the middle. I'm going to slide this down some. That seems to be good. Still. Let's see how flat that is now. Oh yeah. Look at that. That was previously the point with the bow, and so now it doesn't really have one. So that's good. I don't think I flattened the generator any. It feels pretty good. So there you go. Problem solved. Generators is yeah. Look at that. That's definitely a difference. You can see right here. That's what we want. So, okay. See, we never have a plan on this show. We just kind of go along and make it up as we find it. And then we either have success or we have failure. So far, we've been blessed with success. So let's go ahead and get this back in here. And the interesting thing is that I'm, let's see. Yeah, it's got to screw back in because the valve screw itself screws in. It's a very, very interesting thing that they've got here. So we'll go ahead and continue to screw this in. There we go. That looks about where it was. I am almost 100% sure I'm going to have leakage out of this this gland nut, but we've got quite a bit of adjustment here still, so with any hope that will be just fine. So we got the needle sticking out the end, which is great. We're going to put our gas tip back on here, so that will screw right down in there, hopefully with no drama. Make sure that my needle is sticking through. I can't see it, so time for the super peepers. Okay, get down here so I get some light. No, I don't see it. So out of an abundance of caution, what I'm going to do is I'm going to unscrew this all the way, which is going to retract that needle. And then I can screw, you can see the needle is pretty much, you can't see it anymore, not visible. And then we'll screw the gas tip in, which should allow us to screw it down without breaking the end of the needle off, which would be a true tragedy. Then we're going to tighten this back down, run this back in, and with any luck, our needle should just make an appearance. Yep, there she is. Sticking right through just like she's supposed to. So yeah, you can see, well, maybe, but yeah, it's sticking right through there. So now what we need to do, put this back in here, clamp it down, and then we're going to, well, let's make this a little easier. So I'm going to make sure that this is tightened securely onto the generator. That feels pretty good. Right, so it's reassembly time. But before we do that, let's go ahead and do this whole unscrewing of this again. And we're going to blow into it now that we've got this completely assembled. Oh yeah, air goes through there nice and easy. No problem. So can get rid of those, and we're going to go ahead and do a little desktop cleanup here, and then we'll do a reassembly. Okay. All right, so now we need to bring back the stove. Hopefully I got enough room. I'm not used to working with items that are quite this large, so I got to really kind of shove all my junk off to the side here to make room to drop this. So let's go ahead and get that. All right, so the other thing I got to do, okay, here it is. It's like, that's right, there was that bracket that came off. Well, here's the under bracket. So, yeah, it has really got a lot of rust and corrosion on this thread here. So I'm just gonna hit this with a brass brush, and then we'll get that cleaned up. So everything should screw around there nicely. So really the plan here is to get this back in there. So that's pretty simple. It just kind of goes through the hole here. Kind of goes like that. That kind of goes like this. And then this kind of screws on there, and it feels like we're almost home with this. But we got to secure this generator, and probably should have taken a little closer look at this before I took it all apart. I'm going to take these grates out so they don't just launch and get further broken. Get my square nut here, and then take a look at how we're supposed to do this. So yeah, I can pretty easily see how this works, but getting it in there may be another story. Let's see. Yeah, there's not a lot of room to get that in there. Let's see. Well, you guys don't have to watch me fight with this, so we'll be back in just a sec. All right, got her back in there, and it's all settled in just like it's supposed to. So that's great. So what I'm gonna do at this point is it's time to put some fuel in it, right? And this is great. So I don't know if you heard that little psst, but I just opened this up, and I had put about 3 strokes of pressure into it last night just to verify that this is, ooh, I should tighten that up, otherwise that could make for a really bad start. Let's get that on there. That's good. Okay, nice. Right, so I had pressurized it just to make sure I had air coming out of there, which I did, and that held pressure overnight with 0 problems. So this thing is in really, really great shape. So now what I need to do is I need to locate some fuel, which I don't necessarily have. Okay, I got some in this one here that I can pour in, but it's going to take more than this, I can tell you. Just going to go ahead and throw this. I know this is very clean fuel, so no problem with pouring that in there. And now I'm going to have to pour a lot more fuel in there. So that's probably going to be another good excuse to do a little cutaway scene, so stand by. Okay, so we've just fueled up with a couple of shots from several other different lanterns and stoves that I had laying around here that I figured, well, we might as well rotate out some of this fuel. I am going to turn off my fan and we're going to try to light this thing. So the idea here being, this is off, that's off, that's appears to be closed, I guess. Yeah, that's good. Is that we're going to pump it up. We're going to start the preheat generator, preheating this, and make sure the fuel flows that way. And then once we've done that, then we'll flow fuel to the main, and then we'll get this burner going. I don't know what the state of this one is. The knob for it is frozen, and I'm hoping that the heat from running it is going to help. So we'll just kind of see what happens, right? So this is probably going to take a lot of pumping because the correct pressure area on this thing is pretty far up, and I guess if I would have put more fuel in it, it probably would take a lot less time. Maybe what I'll do here, after I get just a bit of pressure on it, to see how, if we're actually going to get any fuel flow to the preheat generator. If it flows to there, it should flow to the main one. Because I would really hate to pump this thing up all the way and end up with having to start over again. So let's see what happens here. I expect it's going to take a while. Yeah. Oh, there's the fuel. There it is. So, come on, Mr. Lighter. So these have a little cup in there that catches the fuel at first, and then it starts preheating the generator. And I don't want to fill the cup up too full because then we're gonna just flood it, and I don't want to do that. But what we're doing right now is preheating the preheat generator, and eventually it's going to start to sound like a torch. But that might take a little bit. Let's see if I can flip the knob around here a little bit. Probably needs some more pressure. Either that or we may have some blockages, which is why we're getting such a yellow flame on it. Which is entirely possible. Don't have a air compressor set up just yet. This really should be a pretty strong torch, and because it is on the other one, so this isn't looking all as great as I'd like. But then of course my pressure is quite low, but then I'm not sure if I want to go too much further because I don't want to just be spraying fuel everywhere. But we're just gonna see how it goes. Yeah, I may need to do something with that. I don't really have I've got a brush, but it's plastic, unfortunately, and that's going to be easily melted. Let's see, what am I going to do? Really don't want to have to unscrew this if I don't have to. Or maybe I just need to unscrew that. That's probably what I should do. Just do that. Of course, it does not want to go because it's a little bit rusted. See if we can get it to break loose. There it goes. the generator is frozen inside the nut itself. So just gonna see what happens when we give a little bit more of a turn here. Maybe I can wedge it this way to get it loose. So a little bit on the warm side. Let's see, Mr. PB Blaster. All right, I have a feeling we're going to have a little bit of a jump cut here too as we as we work through this issue. Okay, well, unfortunately what happened is that as we were unloosening that, the piece of metal that it was sitting on was so rusted that it just snapped and it broke right off. So I'm going to have to fabricate a new piece on here that will hold that. So that's a bit of a bummer. But what we can do in the meantime is that we can try to send some fuel to this and see if we can get something to come out of the main jet here. So let's see what happens when we do this. Oh yeah. I'm gonna be real careful with that. I'm gonna preheat this here. Yeah, we definitely have fuel in there already. So yeah, lots of fuel. And we're already it's all right. We'll let all this stuff kind of burn out because there's fuel that's just puddled down in there. So we'll just kind of let that burn down a little bit, and that's fine. You can hear it trying to go. What I really kind of want to do is let this kind of burn off a little bit. Oh look, the other one just started up. See if this, yeah, this has got a ton of fuel down here in the bottom. We're gonna turn off the fire here before we deal with that. So right, so I'm gonna try to soak up this fuel as much as I can. You can't really see very well, but there's a drain here on the bottom for when you flood it like I just did. So what we're gonna do, get that fuel mostly mopped up, and we're gonna let this manifold drain out, which it just did, and then I'm gonna light the residual fuel off here, which will burn it off. Yeah, if you leave this in there, you'll just get yellow flames because it'll run too rich. So we'll just do this. Looks a little bit terrifying, but it's actually not a big deal because that's gonna just go right away like that. We're gonna go ahead and manually preheat this generator. Normally we'd be doing this with the, yeah, you can see there's plenty of fuel in there already. We'll see if there's, see what happens when we do this. There we go. Two very yellow flames. Gonna let that kind of heat for a little bit and see what happens. But this is probably the first time this has gotten started in a long time. So even though this isn't very, it doesn't look really great, it looks like it's running really rich. So it tells me there may be some spider webs or something in here that's kind of blocking it up, and that's fine. But the idea here was to, can we actually get the thing lit? Can we actually get it going? And as it's going here, it's actually looking pretty good. So we're going to go ahead, and we're not anywhere near the recommended range. So we're going to go ahead and keep on pumping and see what happens. Well, I think I can actually turn this down some because that's really quite warm. So I'm going to do that. Look at there. That's not looking too bad. And we'll just keep pumping. You can definitely see that the generator is brass by the green that's coming off of the flames. Yeah, we're still not into the recommended area yet. Oh man. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna take a picture here for the guy that I bought this from to kind of give him a first look at it. And so yeah, he'll see it before you guys do. But hey, you know what? He was very, very helpful in terms of getting this to me, and I really appreciate it. And man, this thing takes a lot of effort to pump up, but yeah, I'm hoping that some of this will loosen up with the heat of it just running, and we'll see how it goes. But anyway, that is all I wanted to do for today. And yeah, it's just not the best spot to pump from here, kind of moving around. But I think we'll leave it there. Got some work to do with rebuilding that bracket that broke. But that's sheet metal, pretty easy to fabricate. Can make a replacement for that. And we'll be on our way. So that is the Air-O-Gas 120 first light up. And yeah, it's looking pretty good. And wait till we get this thing all completely done. Until next time, keep them lit.